Hey guys, thanks for joining me today. I'm here with Cody from Gold City Ventures, friend of the channel. Welcome back, Cody.
Thanks for having me, Ryan. Excited to be back on.
Yeah, we had a really positive it was really positively received the last time you were here. We were talking about Etsy printables specifically. And if you don't mind, because that was a while ago, it's crazy how time flies. Do you want to catch us up on like kind of how you got started with Etsy printables? Maybe even touch on like what they are, because I mainly talk print on demand, but there's a whole nother side to Etsy that viewers of my channel may be missing.
Absolutely. And just want to say, after our last episode, we got so many emails. They're like, oh, yeah, I came from Ryan, came from Ryan, came from Ryan. Awesome interview with Ryan. We had so much positive feedback. So thank you for hosting me on the channel. I'm glad I was able to deliver some value. But yeah, printables. So print on demand. You create a design, you stick it on an actual physical object like a t-shirt or a mug or a hat or whatever. A printable is literally a digital file that you're selling someone. So it could be an SVG. Like I know you're probably creating a lot of SVGs for your POD designs. You could actually take those exact same SVGs, sell them to other POD sellers, and that's a printable. That's a digital file. So printables kind of encapsulates not only things that are physically printed, but now that I don't even know what percent of Gen Z people own printers at this point, probably less than half. There's a lot of quote unquote printables that are just digital products that you download. So, for example, like something that I sell in my shop, like any kind of Canva template. We're going to talk about templates today and the customization of Etsy. But something that I sell is like a podcast media kit. I have a podcast, and so I created this like amazing media kit, spent so many hours on it, and I had a bunch of people ask me, they're like, dude, that's an amazing media kit. Like, can I just take that from you? I'm like, yeah, sure. I'll just send you the Canva template. Enough people ask me, I'm like, I'm just going to make this a product and put it in my Etsy shop. And that product has done extremely well in my Etsy shop as this digital file. Nobody's receiving anything physically. They're literally going to Etsy. They type in what they're searching for. They find my shop or a similar shop. They buy the thing. Etsy just delivers the file automatically. So why I like this side hustle so much, I have been in the POD space. I have been in the actual physical product space, the shipping, the inventory, people not getting their products,
Returns, man,
returns.
returns.
It's a
Yeah.
nightmare. It's a nightmare. And of course, there's some issues. Sometimes someone might not be happy with the digital file that they got, but it's very, very rare. It is much more rare than someone saying, "Oh, this T-shirt doesn't fit," or that the mug has a chip in it, or whatever excuse they might have why they want a refund. It has just been a really passive, hands-off side hustle for me. So that's kind of how I fell in love with it. And but the story of how I like really, really got into this, I was like a side hustle guy back in the day. I used to do everything. I mean, you just heard I've done physical products, I've done POD, I delivered Uber Eats on a bicycle, for God's sake, in a
Good for
hilly
you, man.
city.
You
It
really
was
did do everything.
miserable. It was miserable. But my friend Julie introduced me to this concept of printables and Etsy. I'd never been on Etsy before. I didn't know what printables were, but she said she had made like 6 grand from 50 hours of work. Did the math in my head. It was like 120 bucks an hour. And those products that she created were still making her money after that. So it was like passive income. She's like, I just put the product in my shop. People continue to buy it even when I'm not working on it. Cool. So I created my shop. I created like 20, 25 products. And you guys are probably like, and then what? None of them sold. It was terrible. I had no idea what I was doing,
So
quite
you are
honestly.
human.
I am human. My first literally 25 products, Ryan, I probably spent close to 100 hours creating them because I was so bad at graphic design too. I had no idea what I was doing. And none of them sold. I was very, very discouraged. Then I started going after seasonal trends. We'll talk about that a bit today. But I started going after the holidays. So Christmas, Valentine's Day, New Year's, even like March holidays. I was basically going in sequential order, going from like, yeah, okay, December, January, February, March, April. What's happening in those months and what can I create? So when I had my big break was in February. I created a whole bunch of Valentine's Day printables. Ended up making over $700 in 1 week while I was on vacation, and I wasn't working that week. And it was like products that I had created in December and January, and that was the light bulb moment. And that's kind of the rest is history. That's when I became obsessed with digital products, and here we are talking over 5 years later.
I had a similar story, like going to like my now fiance would work like an art show in Florida every year. Still does. So I would always like visit her in Florida when the art show's over. And I just remember going there. I don't know what year it was, but early on in the journey, when I was still doing well enough, and I counted how much money I made while I didn't touch my computer for whatever 3-4 days that we were down there just on the beach, just enjoying life. You know what I mean? And I was like, damn, like
Yeah.
that's what this is about. This is the moment where it's set in of like, we have the vision, but then when you realize like you're now living it, and then you just got to double down, triple down, be about it and see how far you can take it. And it ultimately led us both to teaching. So you touched on printables on Etsy and whatnot. last time you were here, you talked a little bit briefly about your program, Gold City Ventures. Like, do you just want to kind of touch on, because what's really impressive about your program is just how involved you guys are in and invested in the people in it becoming successful. So do you want to touch on that really quick?
For sure. I mean, that's the most important thing to us, because a lot of people, some people, I'm not going to call people out, but some people have just, they're selling crappy programs. They don't get results for their students. So from the very beginning, we were like, okay, how can we make this as good as it can possibly be? We're like, focus on student success, because success leaves clues. And you can only pull the wool over people's eyes for so long. You can only sell so many people into your program, whatever you're teaching, and then all of them realize it doesn't work, and they're not telling their friends. They're not going and renewing or joining your membership or whatever. So from the very beginning, we're like, okay, we are going to make the course that can take people from beginner, from having absolutely no background in graphic design, no clue how Etsy works, no clue how printables work, to someone who's actually making a decent side hustle out of this. And we're going to basically, step by step, we're going to make sure that they cannot fall off the path. Like, we are going to be putting the bumpers down the whole way. So that's like, even to this day, every single time we update content, every time we record a new video, it's with that in mind. Is this going to distract them from the goal? Is this like a little side quest, or is this something that they need on the main path? So we want to get them from A to B, like A to successful, or A to the first sale as quickly as possible. That's been like the shining light from day one, back when we launched e-printables, our course back in 2019. And it still drives all of our decisions today. So every single decision we make is just made through that lens. And now we've had students who, we had one woman who quit her job. She made 160 grand on the side while she was working her job, ended up quitting. She then got featured on like CNBC last year for making $77,000 on Etsy. And she's then expanded to do other entrepreneurial stuff. We had another woman in the UK who was featured by The Sun, which is like a really big magazine and publication over there. She quit her job. We had a full-time accountant who quit her job and actually started working for us as a contractor and now a business partner. And then other people who are just, they're paying their mortgage, they're covering the groceries, this is their fun money. So we just get all these awesome testimonials because we've put the students first. We make sure that they're successful because their success makes us successful. The more that we have other people make a lot of money in our course and they're enjoying the course and they're learning a lot, the more they tell their friends, the more they get featured in press. And it's just this big cycle, man. So it just, the more we do good, the more good things happen to us.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to highlight. Because last time we were here too, I mean, I know you guys were super invested, but you've only gotten more testimonials, more successful students, and it sounds like, I mean, more coaches inside that program, hand holding and whatnot. So I wanted to make sure we called that out early on in this call. And we also have a workshop, right, that is going to be linked at the top of the description in case anybody that just wants a little bit more information can go check that out.
Free workshop for your audience. Yeah. Giving people the hookup. It's like a 60-minute workshop. It's basically looking at our business from like a 10,000-foot view, talking about like keyword research to product ideation to actually creating the products to marketing. We kind of cover a little bit of everything in there. It should give you a good idea as to if this side hustle is right for you. If you watch the whole thing and you're like, I'm not really feeling it, totally cool. Hopefully you learn something, because we try to just create as much value as possible in there. It's like 60 or 80 slides in there. I don't remember exactly how many, but it was a lot of work. We spent a lot of time putting that together. So you don't get anything out of it, totally cool, but it's a free workshop. You can go and check that out, and Ryan will link that up. One thing I do want to mention though, with this seasonal product thing, because I think this is something that people sleep on and don't realize, is that the very first year I made all those sales, I was skiing in Lake Tahoe. That's what I was doing. I was on vacation. The next year I was in Aruba, and like you, I'm not working, looking at my phone. And the crazy part is I was making passive income, which you're like, okay, that's the cool part. No, it's that the products that I had sold last year during that Lake Tahoe vacation, those same exact products, because they were Valentine's Day products, they're seasonal, were selling next year for Aruba. The year after that, they were selling again. The year after that, they were selling again. So stuff that I made in 2019, 2020, 2021, we're recording this in May 2024, are still selling today. That's what I love so much about like the seasonal trends, is that the search volume, the search demand for those types of products is just 10,000x during those months. So if you can get a couple popular products and capitalize on those holidays, on those events, on those trends, then you have cyclical income every single year. So every single Valentine's Day, I know, like, hey, this specific product is going to make me a couple $100. This other product might make me a couple $1,000. And that's been the coolest part, man. It's just like the passive income that's cyclical. And once you do this for an entire year, once you do like the whole build out a seasonal suite, so you have something for every single month of the year, then the next year after that, you're going to be hitting all those same months. It's going to be that cyclical income, which is just an awesome part about printables. And I mean, same thing with POD to an extent, but not hating on POD, but I think printables are a little bit more passive.
Yeah, I think so too. You probably deal with, like I said, more returns, more headaches. I don't want to, and plus you get the automated instant fulfillment with printables, so you can't take that away from it, right?
POD is awesome. I'm not hating. I'm not hating.
Yeah, I mean, these things also fluctuate. Like they
For
get
sure.
easier, they get harder, etc. You know what I mean? But
There's pros and cons for sure.
yeah, exactly, to both. I was gonna say I had two takeaways. One is that we both like to vacation in February.
Yes.
The other is that something I've experienced too. Obviously, I've been doing this for over 7 years. Is it's like you don't know what the winners are going to be when you start. That's what's kind of interesting. Like you can do 10 products that are all equally incredible, but like most likely two of them, the 80-20 rule, are going to like make most of the income, if you had to choose a number. And I think of it as like planting seeds, like you plant a seed today that will hopefully yield for the rest of your life passive income. Etsy, Amazon, etc. Like they collect reviews. And I mean, obviously every sale kind of is a signal to the algorithm. Hey, like the customer saw this product, they clicked it, they bought it, they liked it, they leave a review, the reviews add up. It almost like is a self-enforcing feedback loop. And even Google, they see the reviews, they see them on Amazon, they see them on Etsy, and they say, okay, they like this product. Like that's all public information. The Google spiders, the crawlers that crawl the source code of those pages, they're also learning and factoring that into your placement in the world's #1 search engine, which can lead them to your listing and lead them to another sale.
I love that analogy, the planting the seeds. That's really good. Because a lot of people ask me, how many products do I need to be successful? I'm like, it's a numbers game. You don't know what's going to be successful. You put 20 products out, maybe 18 of them don't sell, and 2 just go gangbusters. And they're both these little passive income machines that are making you hundreds of dollars per month. So I love that analogy. I think something you said there, and actually a question for you, Ryan, do you sell anywhere other than Amazon and Etsy, other places where you're in charge of driving the traffic to the products? So I think this is an important point.
I mean, technically, yes, I do have like a Shopify store, but I'm mainly on the platforms that the traffic part of the equation is solved.
So I'm on Shopify too, but that was only after we built a brand. But the cool thing about Etsy and Amazon, and a lot of people will be like, oh, Etsy has its fees and Amazon has its fees. Like, guys, there are so many buyers on Etsy and Amazon. If you can understand the keyword research, the SEO game, if you can be the person who creates the thing that people are typing in the search bar on those platforms, they are sending you leads. They are sending you leads. They're for-profit companies, both Etsy and Amazon. Like yes, of course they're going to make a cut because they have hundreds of millions of buyers on their platforms ready to buy your stuff. I know a couple of years ago there was a big uproar when Etsy raised its fees from 5% to 6.5%, and they were spending all this money on offsite ads, on Google ads, on Bing ads. I mean, they had a Super Bowl commercial. So they're spending a lot of money getting people onto the platform, and a lot of the mostly handmade community were in uproar. But I'm like, digital product sellers, listen, like Etsy is spending so much money getting new buyers from this platform. If I make 1 sale of my digital product, or I make 10 sales of my digital product, and they're charging an extra 1.5%, like bring it on. You know what I mean? It's like I'm making so much more money net than I would before. Whereas I can understand where the physical product sellers are coming from. Like if you spent 10 hours weaving a basket or knitting a sweater, and all of a sudden Etsy's like, oh, I'm going to up your fees. They're like, well, I just spent 10 hours on this. Like I can't really churn out too many more of these. But as a digital product seller, as a POD seller, we are just, man, it's amazing what we're able to do and how many people we're able to reach because of the money that places like Etsy and Amazon are spending on bringing people onto the platform. So guys, if you're not already selling on one of these platforms and you're just exclusively doing Shopify or maybe WooCommerce or hosting on your own website, just throw your stuff on these other platforms because you'll have new buyers coming to your orbit that might have never found your stuff otherwise.
No, I mean, that's a really good perspective. I was going to say there's no better advertising than a Super Bowl ad too.
Yeah, right.
And, we all caught the Super Bowl ad, I think. Yeah, like you can bring Etsy buyers. #1, like if you're strategic in your messaging, you can bring them back to Etsy. #2, I mean, I don't know your stance on it, but like you can definitely try to bring them off of Etsy as well.
Oh, for sure. Hey, why not? Yeah.
So
build your email list, man.
Yeah, like there's so much, man. This game gets deep. Like it gets deep. I don't want to talk people off. Most people I think identify as a beginner, but it's always good to know that like there are phases. It's beginner, sign up for the workshop. It's free. Intermediate, expert, right? And then after expert, maybe even coaching. Like people like to learn from people that have been there before. So it's funny. Like there's a lot of growth opportunities, I would say.
There's definitely a lot of growth opportunities. And I like to think of Etsy and like our course and your course almost as like a mini MBA. Like you're learning so many skills that people who literally get their MBA aren't learning if they're not actually doing the stuff. They're just reading the books. They're doing the case studies. when you operate a business like this, you're learning every single piece of the business arm. You're learning products. You're learning how to create a good product. You're learning marketing. You're learning how to title stuff. You're learning SEO. You're learning graphic design. You're learning how to create listing images. You're learning how to create different product designs. Like, there's so many skills that go into this. You're learning customer service. You're talking to the customers. Like, I think just even if you don't, even if this isn't your end game, even if selling printables on Etsy or selling POD isn't your end game, this is a great place to get started because you just learn so many of those core skills. And then, like Ryan said, you can kind of take those skills and just continue to stack and build bigger and bigger businesses and go onto this platform, this platform, and this platform. And it's, yeah, just a snowball that doesn't slow down.
Yeah. I mean, I had no clue. I never set out to have a YouTube channel or a course or anything like that, but it was just kind of like a complementary next logical step, you know, and 7 years down the line, it's like, I've been on CNBC a couple of times. Like, no one ever planned for this. It's just kind of flowing. I call it flowing with the universe, man. I don't know where life's taking me, but I feel like if I'm vibing with it, like, it's all going to be good, you know? Dude, so I want to talk to you about a couple things though, related to printables. Cause I have a couple questions myself. It's not that I haven't tried, but I haven't taken it too seriously. I kind of stay in my lane with POD. But I'm not a stranger to the printables aspect. Like, you mentioned the podcast media kit as just one product, right? I'm sure there's a million things you could do.
Oh yeah.
I just want to know, the first thing that I really want to know is like price point. Cause I see a bunch of like 99-cent digital download products. Like, what is your take? Should they be focused there? Should they be focused on higher end price point products, digital products? Like, what price point are you recommending people sell at? Or are you seeing people being successful at?
It all depends on the product. And I'm a huge fan of reading the data and making decisions based on that. So there are people who actually make a lot of money selling 99-cent and $2 products, but it's because the search volume is just insane. Like, if there's 100,000 searches a month for something and you can get even a sliver of that pie at $2 a pop, if you can sell, 100 or 500 $2 things, it's a pretty decent side hustle. But there's a lot of other stuff, like a podcast media kit. You'd never sell that for $1 or $2. It's just, there's not enough searches, not enough profit margin. So for me, most of my products are somewhere between $3 and $20 being like the bigger bundles in my Etsy shop. Actually, I think I have one thing for $29.99. But that's usually the sweet spot for me. When I'm doing research, I'll look at what the best sellers are doing. And I like to be somewhere in the middle, not the very top tier, not the bargain basement, somewhere in between, and maybe like a little bit lower than the middle pricing when I'm getting started, just to get some traction. If I get some eyeballs on that product, get some sales, the algorithm would be like, okay, people like this. And then I can start to increase the price as demand goes up. But honestly, it totally depends on the thing you're selling, man. Like, yeah, a podcast media kit's a lot more in depth than some very simple, like a task list, like a little 1-page freebie that took someone 30 seconds to put together. It totally depends on the product you're selling, but yeah, scout the competition first. Go look at other best sellers on Etsy or Amazon or whatever you're selling, and you can just price accordingly. I don't like to be the very, very top, but I also don't like to be the $1, the Dollar General, because the thing is, you might be like, oh, people are going to buy this thing because it's so much cheaper than everybody else. But I know for me, sometimes I'm skeptical. If there's something that's that much cheaper than everything else, you're like, I'd rather pay a couple extra bucks for quality. Like, even when I'm buying something like shoes or I'm buying an appliance or whatever, I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to buy the cheapest one because that one's probably crappy. I'm going to buy something like a little higher up, not the highest one, not the top tier, but something in the middle. So that's kind of the same pricing strategy I have with my Etsy stuff.
And I imagine, like, with Etsy, it shows your Etsy total like shop reviews in the search results. So the more you get, the more of a premium you can probably charge. So it behooves you to get started and keep that long-term perspective, right?
That's very true. Yeah. It's very much like a social recognition game, I guess. It's the people who are getting the reviews, the people who have more items in their shop, the people who are building these customer relationships, those people are going to show up higher in the search results. So it really pays to get momentum and just keep putting products out at the beginning, even though you might not be getting traction with those first couple of products. It might be discouraging. Again, I put up 25 products before I even made a sale. I was so discouraged. But once I got the snowball rolling and the Etsy algorithm started to reward me, then they started to prioritize me in the search results and show my stuff more often, because they realized, like, hey, this shop is actually making stuff that people want to see and that people want to buy. So that helped me out a lot, is just getting that initial traction. And once you get that first sale, that's when you put your foot on the gas.
Love that, man. And I know you don't want to give too much of the secret sauce out right now, but I do want to ask you, just based on my personal experience, like, my biggest success selling digital products has been bundles. And I don't know if I just felt like maybe like I always in my mind like to feel like I have some edge in what I'm doing. And I thought like I feel like a bundle almost feels like I'm outworking my competition. If people like without getting into niches, like I can tell you what my most successful one is offline, but I priced it for $9.99 and it sold a bunch. You know what I mean? And it's in a niche that like sells well on print on demand. So I'm just kind of taking my designs, honestly, lumped them together in a zip file, pushed it on Etsy for $9.99 and said, let's see what happens. You know, ran some ads, and I would call it a success story, even though it hasn't sold as much lately, which makes me think people probably undercut me and kind of jumped in. Not the highest barrier of entry to do. But what are your thoughts on like bundling is what I wanted to ask.
So you are selling printables.
A few, man, a few. But
All right.
Selling, that's the keyword, right? I've sold a lot of the bundles, not the one-offs.
Okay. I was going to say, for the POD people, if you have awesome SVGs, sell them to other people. Like, people will put them on stuff that you might have never even thought of before. And it's an easy way for you to make some extra income on those designs. But okay,
that's what I did.
Bundles. Okay, that's genius. And I think everybody should do that. If you're listening and you haven't done that, go and do that. You already have the files. It's pretty easy for you to make a listing for it. Bundles. So yeah, bundles are a great way to differentiate. They're a great way to increase LTV, lifetime customer value. And yeah, it can just make you stand out from the other products. So if everybody else just has like a simple one pager, or they just have like a couple of designs, speaking SVGs, and you have this mega bundle of these like 100 plus SVGs, insert theme, you're going to stand out. You're going to look better than the other people. And again, and you can charge a higher price point. So I'm a huge fan of bundling. It's something we talk a lot about in our course. It's something what we like kind of teach, like this product goes with this product, and you can even like do cross bundling. You can have like a mega bundle, and then you can have, you know, 3 of those products in this bundle over here and over here, using after you do some keyword research and figure out what people are searching for. But I think that's a fantastic strategy, man. It's a great way to stand out. And instead of just selling a couple of those SVGs for $2, you're selling a bundle of them for $9.99. And those same people, the people who maybe bought the $2 thing, they might have not spent the other $8 with you because they don't even know that you have those other designs. So just putting everything in one place for people to buy makes it so much easier. Because as you know, on Etsy, unlike some other stores, like if you have a big Shopify store, you have a brand, people are coming to you, they're sifting through, they're looking through your shop. A lot of times on Etsy, people are just typing stuff into the search bar. They're scanning that first page. They see something that pops up that fits what they're looking for. They're like, awesome. They click on it. They buy it. They never visit your shop again.
Right.
If you're not doing some of the things that we talked about, like getting them on an email list or somehow keeping constant communication with them. But a lot of times they disappear into the ether. So if you can get them on that first transaction, making the biggest purchase that they can possibly make, like a bundle, you're going to win more times than not.
No, I love that. And I mean, even just you talking, I'm like, man, I definitely left money on the table. Like I spread myself pretty thin, so I'm not too mad at myself, but I know that like the people that bought the one-offs that weren't that are in the bigger bundle, like if I'm serious, I should be messaging them or using like some automations, whatever, VAs, whatever, and telling them, hey, thanks for the order. By the way, I've got the bundle. Here's a 20% off coupon, and watch what happens, right? Like, watch what happens.
Yeah. It would probably convert pretty good.
Yeah.
It's all right. We all have more we can do. Don't blame yourself, Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure that like this is stuff that you guys are covering, and that's why I'm vouching, right? I'm vouching. I saw how well received the last time you were here was, Cody. We could talk forever about the printable stuff. Like anything else you want to touch on, like maybe, I don't know, anything that comes to mind. Like I was thinking like types of printables that people could sell. Like anybody watching might be like, hey, I'm not a good graphic designer. Is this for me? Anything like that?
Well, if I'm a testament to, if you are bad at graphic design and you have grit and you can follow instructions, you can make this work. You don't have to be the best graphic designer. Honestly, the most important thing, in my opinion, is the keyword research and SEO. Now, if you're creating stuff for like a wedding, then yes, you need to be a good graphic designer. But a lot of people are just looking for functional printables. They just want something that scratches their itch. So if you can learn, here's one topic we can talk about really quickly: short tail versus long tail keywords. And we'll use the seasonal products as an example here. So what's coming up? Mother's Day. Mother's Day is right around the corner. We're recording this in the beginning of May. Mother's Day is like the 13th or 14th. Sorry, Mom. But so an example of a short tail keyword is Mother's Day card. And if you look on any of these keyword research tools, there's going to be a million other people selling just a Mother's Day card. And if you just create a Mother's Day card that says Happy Mother's Day, the chances of you making a bunch of money from that are effectively zero. But so here's where long tail keywords and niching down comes into play. And I think this is honestly the most important thing when it comes to selling on Etsy, selling printables on Etsy. Basically, long tail keywords is just how it sounds. A short tail keyword is Mother's Day cards, just 3 words. It's not too descriptive. As you add more adjectives onto the beginning of a short tail keyword, that's how it becomes a long-tail keyword. So it could be first Mother's Day card. Maybe it's someone who just had a kid. Maybe it's pink first Mother's Day card. Maybe it's a mom who loves tennis. Maybe it's tennis first Mother's Day card. You see how if someone types in tennis first Mother's Day card into the Etsy search bar, and you have a card with a tennis ball or a tennis racket and it says first on it, you are going to beat out all of the other people who just have the generic Mother's Day card listings, because you are matching exactly what that person is looking for in the search results. So as you niche down, and you don't want to niche down so far that nobody's searching for that thing, but it's honestly not unreasonable that someone might be typing in tennis first Mother's Day card, cheerleading first Mother's Day card, whatever. I'm not sure. I'm not into what moms are into.
Dude, that's literally what I do on Amazon, by the way. But I'll go where people don't go. Like I'll literally be the only guy.
You find like the niche. You find like the 50 searches per month that nobody's selling in, and you're like, if I can get 30 of these people at like a $5 or $10 price point, like boom, there's a $150 to $300 per month or per season recurring income on this one product. And like, that's how I built my shop. It's like, I have these little mini passive income machines that give me cyclical income every season, because I'm big into selling seasonal products. So the niching down, the keyword research, I'm so glad that you did the same thing, Ryan, because it's a superpower, man. Like it's such a hack. And if you can find those longer tail keywords that people aren't selling in, instead of trying to compete with, Valentine's Day card, Mother's Day card, Father's Day card, you're just going to get beat out. You're going to get discouraged. But if you can find those weird niches, find those weird nooks and crannies in the market and use keyword research tools to do so, then you can make a killing. You can make money where nobody else is making money. And again, if your thing matches exactly what that person is typing into the search bar, you have such a higher likelihood of getting the sale than someone with just the generic Happy Mother's Day card with like some emoji on it.
No, man, you can't say that like enough times though. I literally had a one-on-one call yesterday, and it was like the same exact thing that you just said, except we were talking in like an Amazon context. And yeah, you know what I mean? It's kind of like sometimes you just got to beat people over the head with the same thing.
Say it enough until it clicks. Yeah, maybe something I said was slightly different. I don't know, but I say the same thing over and over and over again. And sometimes people are just like, oh my God, I get it.
I was showing my designs. I was like, look, this sold today. This sold today. This sold today. Look at how I titled it. Because I was seeing like their stuff too at the same time. And I'm like, look at your stuff and then look at these. But they were like, oh, but I tried your way. And I'm like, man, like, you just got to trust me. Like, this is the way, you know what I mean? And what you said too, like, don't be afraid to niche down. The perspective of, you don't need to be the guy that got 1,000 sales on one listing. You can get 10 sales, $5 profit, make 50, do it a couple times,
Absolutely. It adds up. It adds up. You have 100 products, and even if only 20 of them are selling consistently at $5 a day, like you're making, what is that, $100 a day? Yeah, not too shabby. You have a $3,000 side hustle. It's not bad. And you can continue to scale that up and add more products. And yeah, it's a snowball. It's a snowball.
Yeah. Lesson 1 of my free like email sequence, if you join my email list, just says, think of your income in terms of dollars per day. It's a good perspective, especially when you start, and just pump that number,
Absolutely.
That's what I recommend.
Small goals, man. Micro goals make big goals possible.
I like that. Cool. And planting seeds.
Yes.
Cool. Cody, man, anything we missed? Because and just remind them of the next steps. Anybody's interested.
Yeah. If you're interested in this and kind of want to get a deeper dive, and you're like talking about keyword research and product selection and ideation, all that fun stuff, marketing, we have a free workshop. Ryan will link that up for you guys, and it's absolutely free for your audience. So don't worry about that. If you want to take next steps after that, we have like some resources for you. We have like templates. We have the course that you mentioned earlier, of course. If not, take it and run and whatever you learn from that workshop and start implementing it in whatever shops you're running.
Yeah, I don't remember what year it was that we first got together, but the feedback, it was 2022, actually. I'm looking. The feedback was great. So I'm endorsing it. And you and Julie, and you said you've got some students that were success stories in there as well, kind of helping like handhold.
Yeah, it's been pretty cool, man, because like someone will just crush it on Etsy and then they'll join the team, and now they're an Etsy coach for us, helping other people who are in the exact same place that they were 3 years ago. It's awesome.
Cool. Well, the future's bright. Obviously, there's still a lot of money to be made on Etsy, or else we wouldn't still be here.
Exactly.
So, and they're running damn Super Bowl commercials, so something's working.
They're making money. We're making money. That's how I like to look at it.
Hey, man, Cody, it's been great catching up. And everybody, check out the workshop. Link at the top of the description. Cody, thanks again.
Appreciate it. Thank you, man.